Well, hello YouTubers, and here we are again. So, same old reaction to Series 11, Episode 4, Arachnids in the UK. Oh god, is that an awful, awful title. But the episode itself, pleasantly surprised with this one, actually. This is the first episode in Series 11 that I would consider to actually be in the good category. The Rosa Parks episode from last week I considered to be average, but this one actually manages to push into the good category because um, basically there was actually stuff happening in the episode. It wasn't just a long bore throughout, and we actually had a credible threat this time around, which pushed the plot forward. So, Arachnids in the UK, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to spoil bits of it here. So, Arachnids in the UK is basically about some spiders growing to be enormous. Essentially, it's not too dissimilar in terms of that from, say, Planet of the Spiders, where the spiders grow bigger. However, these spiders literally are just like the common house spider, but they're bigger. So they're no more intelligent than a common house spider. They're just bigger, but it does pose a nice little threat. And to be honest, although the spiders are CGI, which is a given. I say the CGI is pretty good on them, to be honest. I was actually pleasantly surprised on how good it the CGI was. I think it was also helped in the fact that generally a lot of the time the spiders were like either in the shadows or they were either constantly moving. So I think that did help to it. I would have loved to have seen, a practical effect. Because to be honest, although it wouldn't be practical to do it on the absolutely massive spider in the episode, the mother spider, the biggest one, you could definitely have some shots of a practical effect of having an actual spider. But other than that, I appreciate it. So this is obviously the first time the Doctor and her companions have gone back to Earth in present day. Excuse me. And this episode is written by Chris Chibnall. Now I've said Chris Chibnall, he's not very good at writing sci-fi, and it shows here. But for the good reasons. That's basically the dynamic between the companions of basically, for example, Graham having to go back home and not being able to stay home because of obviously what happened to his wife. Is some really nice and powerful stuff. Chris Grimble does character interactions here pretty well, and with something that isn't too sci-fi-ish with the spiders, he does a much better job. It does have some nice tension, and also for the majority of the episode, it feels like a Base Hunger Siege sort of story, which if you know me, they're my favourite type of Doctor Who story, the Base Hunger Siege type. So it is the closest to how a Base Hunger Siege story kind of feels. Although, seeing that it does suffer from needs more time syndrome, where it feels like when the episode, gets going around the bits for the spiders, it feels like it's over a bit too quickly, which is a lot this episode. I don't know why the BBC decided to make these episodes 50 minutes, because an extra 5 minutes, again, is absolutely nothing. This episode has a nice build-up and that to it, and all the spider stuff is good, though I wish we would have had more of the Doctor and the companions interacting with, the spiders in the story, have them be a bit more a threat, maybe have a few more people in it, to have a larger kill count. And again, you don't see anyone die. They all die off screen, which is something that is really irritating me. The fact that, it seems to be unnecessary censorship in the fact that you see the dead bodies later on, hanging from the scenes, but you don't actually get to see them die. It's something that keeps being pushed back. The only death in Series 11 so far that, you actually do get to see is Graham's wife and obviously Ryan's grandmother's death. At least that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. Actually, yeah, that's the only death that you actually get to see. So I'm really hoping that it is hopefully just a stylistic choice and it's not them shying away from showing it, because it is something that helps it be a credible threat. But the fact that people do die in the story and are killed off is a good thing. But to be honest, the people who are killed are just nameless people. No one we get to know or care about dies. I mean, Mr. Businessman, I can't remember the character's name, to be honest. I'm just going to call him Mr. Businessman who's running for president. To be honest, I felt that he should have really been killed off, to be honest. Or at least maybe someone else. The other person, the scientist person, maybe should have, because at the moment it is good, although it just feels like we do have a credible threat. We do know these spiders kill people, but the fact is that they kill really none of the main characters in this story. Kind of makes you feel like, well, there's obviously no danger here, and that is a give or take. It's like, well, we know they're going to get out of it fine. So, though, to be honest, it does have some good direction. That's very nicely lit a lot of the shots. So, for example, when Graham and Max is luring a spider in the corridor, and it just comes slowly into the light. That is really nicely done. This was Julia Erica was better in this episode. It felt in this episode that she was starting to become her own Doctor, if that kind of makes sense. Although there were a few occasions where she seemed to be channeling Max Smith again, which is something I keep noticing. That, every time maybe that she starts to become her own Doctor, she then goes back to being basically a knockoff of Max Smith's Doctor. And I don't know whether that's to try and get, a larger audience, because people like a quirky Doctor for reasons. I don't know. Also, I keep noticing the way Jodie Whittaker uses her Sonic. She keeps using it, and I think it was Vote7 who said this. She keeps using it as if it's a magic wand from Harry Potter, basically. Every time she uses it, she has to flick her arm out like that in a massive motion. And to be honest, it's not a fucking magic wand, it's a sonic screw, it's a scientific instrument. And I think the sonic screwdriver, to be honest, I think Chris Chibnall, although he isn't as bad as Moffat was, he still is using the sonic screwdriver a bit too much. Admittedly, it's only being used for, say, unlocking doors or maybe scanning something, though. I think it is being used a little bit too much. Also, what was the point of the bomb bag in this episode? I don't know why she's wearing it. But hey. I think, though this time, I will give it this. The way the companions, sort of leave-ish at the start, and then when they decide to stay with the Doctor, it feels a lot more natural than companions in the past who have said, all right, now I'm leaving. Oh, wait, we've had an adventure today, now I'm going to continue. I think this seems more natural. I mean, with Graham and Ryan, it's obvious why they want to continue travelling with the Doctor, and it's simply because, it's to basically cope with, the grief of basically having a loved one die, and with Yaz, it's kind of just like well, she's not fulfilling what she wants in life on Earth at the moment, because obviously she is a police officer, but she's incredibly young and of an ethnic group that is not. I'm trying to think of the right words for this. Come back to me, I'll think about this. But she's not feeling fulfilled in that, and her family drive her crazy, as she says. So it's a bit more understandable why. To be honest, this episode surprised me. I don't think it's any amazing or anything groundbreaking or new, but it was enjoyable enough. And to be honest, it's one of those episodes you can watch and go, I enjoyed that. I legitimately enjoyed that episode. I will say though, and Chris Criminal's done this before, Mr. Evil Businessman is pretty much. I mean, he isn't as bad as other, stereotypical evil businessmen, but this guy is. Well, it's just basically a stereotype with a forced backstory. Sound familiar? Yeah, going back to the Ghost Monument, forced backstory in there. It seems to me with Chris Criminal that rather than characters, rather than the show don't tell rule, Chris Criminal is all tell and don't show, which is completely the opposite of what I believe in. It should be a show don't tell rather than a tell show. To be honest, it should have been Graham who said more about him, since Graham was the one who recognised him, or something along those lines. But what you gonna do? I can't really think of anything more to say about this, other than I enjoyed it. It is a decent enough episode. However, it does absolutely nothing new, in the sense that it's basically giant spiders where they run around. Oh look, Reese has sent me a photo. It's basically giant spider running around, and that's about it. I mean, it's good enough. If that's all you want from a Doctor Who story, then there you go. But as I said, it does nothing new. I mean, with the formula and that books, it's an enjoyable enough time. But it's not going to be one of those episodes I'm going to be craving to go back to either. But I enjoyed it while it was on. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye, I guess, until next week or something.